Hi, all, and thank you for joining us on our fifth episode of Now Playing the 916. Bringing in our show today is Tovidence. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves with your name and instrument for the audience?
I'm Miles. I play bass.
I'm Matt, and I play the guitar.
I'm Nate and I'm on drums.
My initial question is going to be, where did Tovidence begin? According to Instagram, there was Tovidence in 2002. Is this true? And when did you guys get together if it was not around in 2002?
Well, some of us weren't actually born around that time, so Tovidence initially began as a solo project that I'd had for maybe a couple years before I called it Tovidence. I'd played in previous bands, and when I was supposed to be writing music for those bands, I was writing music that would have been for this band, and it probably wasn't what I should have been doing. So around the time of a previous band's breakup, I just told myself, like, I don't want to not do music. I want to do something. I want to take these songs that I wrote over the past 2 years and put them into something where I can actually, show them off, because, they're my songs. I want people to hear them. I took two of the members from my previous band, and over time, they all left respectfully. He came in first, actually, a year ago well, 2 years ago from Saturday, and then he came in the following summer. So I'd say it maybe started like between late 2022 and early 23. So it's pretty much been like 2 years now. We're still going strong.
I know it's hard when you're first starting. It seems to be a unfortunate trend that people lose members, even if they were originals. So I'm glad that you guys have been going strong for 2 years, though. That's awesome. What does the name Tovidence mean?
You want to answer that question?
Well, realistically, it has no meaning. It's not even a real word. This guy, Matt, he came up with it, and we just kind of said it just means us, who we are, and kind of what we do, what we stand for.
How the three elements blend together into one, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, everyone always pronounces it Tovidence, so.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's like probably our biggest pet peeve is when people mispronounce it. Like, we played a show at the Boardwalk, and the owner came up on stage and like asked us how we pronounced it. And when we told him the correct way to pronounce it, he still said like
Oh
Tovidence
my
or
god.
whatever. It's not that big a deal. Not that big of a deal to us anymore, but still, it's like it's not that hard to Yeah, it's original compared to like previous band names I've had. I think it's like the most original thing we've worked with, and a lot of people really like the name over the music. So I
It
think I think it's a good
definitely
keeper.
has a bit of a ring to it.
Yeah. Um, we had people ask if it was like comparing to like Providence in what way, but we're all from California, so that's kind of a long
Yeah.
distance call. And we've had people think it meant something else, like specifically like a person or a thing, but really it just means us and the three of us blending into one.
I thought it might have been, like, your last names kind of blended together or something just because it is such a unique word. I was like, "I don't know if that's a real word. That has to be, like, their names put all together, or it has to be, like, some obscure plant or something," you know?
Yeah, and that's cool. I should have thought about that when finding the name for the band.
Well, the name is very cool. It's a little interesting. The previous band that we had, Ether Element, um, also mentioned the blending and the elemental side. Obviously, there's a little more on the nose with ether and element being
Yeah.
there, but definitely a nice thing to have that blend between you guys. And then your guys' Spotify page has an inspiration playlist. It features a lot of Fugazi and hardcore or punk music, and I can definitely see the influence. But well, how does one get to at least on the most recent postings of your, concert posters, they refer to you as emo. How do you get there from such a much heavier sound?
Uh, we just started calling ourselves emo because it just goes along with like the bills we fit ourselves into. Originally, we started off more on like what people refer to as like a garage hardcore mixture. We were playing a lot of stuff influenced by like a lot of earlier 80s artists, like I'd say the Wipers and like Husker Du. But over time, like especially when these guys came in, we kind of all put in our own inspiration. He grew up on like the 90s classics like Smashing Pumpkins, and he grew up on like I don't even know what you grew up on. You I forget.
A lot of different stuff, a lot of metal, hardcore, and the old school punk,
Yeah.
like Fugazi and stuff like Unwound and Husker
Husker
Du,
Du? Yeah.
and just kind of blending it all in one, even with my own interests later on, like getting into kind of post-hardcore and more of the emo side of stuff. I've kind of blended it all into my own style, and just kind of brought it to the band to kind of add that to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I feel like a lot of my influences in music, a lot of and the way I play in this band come from like my early instructors. Like I had a really good music teacher like when I was in middle school. He kind of really showed me how to like he was more like a class like more classically training, but he gave me a lot of inspiration on playing music and how to play it well and how to like listen to it and kind of pick it apart. In high school, I had a music teacher, he's actually a professional musician in Nashville. That he kind of showed me how to play in like a band, like of more just like a smaller group as instead of like a big concert setting. And yeah, I had a couple drum instructors who really influenced the way I play. But that's pretty much it.
Same thing kind of goes for me, I'd say. I grew up having my dad around me all the time playing his guitar. He was always playing some sort of like 80s new wave music, so I pretty much grew up on like new wave, which is kind of funny compared to like what we're doing now. But I think just over time I was introduced to like a lot of the stuff that Miles listens to, like a lot of old emotional hardcore, like especially Fugazi. That was a huge turning point for me. And I think we each take elements of like our favorite parts of music and blend them into what we what we call our music. And sometimes we still don't know what to call us. Like there's been a couple rumblings around like us just being like straight punk or like garage or like even post punk, which is kind of a stretch, but I think emo is a good way to label it, and so on and so forth.
It goes along
Yeah.
with how we express ourselves as well, kind of
Yeah.
where that emo comes into play,
A lot of emotion goes into the songwriting factors.
Yeah.
So, with all of your guys' answers, it's starting to make a lot more sense when it comes to your guys' sound. I was gonna say that it's very loud, it's very chaotic, but it's also it sounds very orchestrated, which is a little surprising for a punk band. It sounds very, I don't want to say organized, but because obviously all music is organized, but it sounds very specific and very, intentional. What is the writing process for you guys getting this very interesting sound? I know that your guys' past experiences with music and your guys' inspiration definitely adds to that, but, what is just the process for you guys?
Really, we try our best to be out of the ordinary compared to like a lot of the DIY acts in Sacramento. We just spend hours in this room just like woodshedding and knocking out parts for however long until we get to the point where like we can play this just fine. And it's gotten better over time. Like during the early days of the band, like around the time he joined, it was just me and him because we didn't have a bassist. So we just spent like, the following months until summer just like knocking out the songs and trying to get them to a point where like we felt comfortable with them. And a lot of the earliest music was they were all just like stuff written by me. Like I'd written all the parts. I showed it to him, like, do whatever you want with these, like just get the gist of the song. But now it's just it's more like me bringing a singular riff rather than a whole song and having them figure out their own parts and just goes on from there. We try to, and yeah, again, we try to keep it as different as possible compared to other punk bands, and it's surprising how much you can do as a three piece. Like a lot of people think that we just naturally have two guitars when they see us live. Like, damn, that's different. Like, how do you guys get that sound? And it's just we just spend hours in this room just playing all together for extended periods of time. Like, I can't even tell you how many like recordings we have that go beyond like 30 minutes of us just playing. I definitely say it's one of my favorite things of my day. I'm sure these guys feel the same too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
either of you guys want to say, you mentioned that everybody kind of does their own part when it comes to their writing. Did you guys want to go into your ends?
Yeah, I feel like on a percussive aspect of a lot of our songs are very bass and drum driven. Like that's kind of the pulse of a lot of our music when I listen to it. Because he'll write like click tracks that just have kind of demo bass and guitar tracks, and I'll kind of practice that and play something off of that, like in my own time. So I really like to try and find like a steady pulse throughout the song. But his guitar is very rhythm saturated. So I try and kind of follow the low end frequencies and kind of the pulse of the song that he's playing on the bass with like the kick drum and the toms and the snare. And I try and like accent his more high end frequencies on the guitar with the cymbals or like even also the snare because they're kind of more high end.
Yeah, I mean, I've never really been a lead guitar player. I've always considered myself to be more of like a chunky rhythm player, just because like I find the most emotion going into like how I'm playing those like chords. I'm losing my train of thought here thinking about my chords, but but yeah, I usually just like record something on my computer. I send it over to Nate, and then I'll like record some sort of like just standard bass line playing the roots, send it to Miles, and then he'll like just build around it and do like crazy runs, like going higher on the fretboard. Then when it's time, we just turn it into something, I guess. How
Yeah,
do
a
you do
lot
it?
of like I definitely also follow the drums just as he follows me, and that definitely plays into how I play and what I play um, with Matt. Like because it's very different what we're playing. It's not just basic root notes following the chords. It's a lot more than just that. Like I use actual chords in the on bass to kind of bring a louder, bigger sound to it to follow with the guitar. It kind of acts both as bass and a second guitar in a way. And like he said, I do bring a lot of stuff. Like if I'm playing lower on the fret, higher on the strings, I'll bring it up and make two different variants of one riff, if that makes sense, and put it in different parts of the song, and then just bring it to them. Just kind of figure out what I think sounds good, and then that's how Tovidence happens.
That's how it works.
Awesome. And do you guys have any other projects going around, lying about, that you've just been dying to get to or just trying to get to?
I have a few, or at least just a couple right now. I'm currently playing in like a mathcore project with the owner of DNL, and the work in progress title is called Dick Bertelli, and it's similar to what we're doing, but more chaotic and technical, I suppose. And then I have another project in the works called Deer Blind, which has yet to hop off the ground. And then me and him might start working on a project with a couple of our friends called like I don't even remember the name, but that's gonna happen soon. He recently just started playing with another band too. That is at the studio.
Yeah. Did you mean projects that like were individually in or projects that the band is working on?
Either is totally
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, well, I recently started playing with this band called Blind Eyes. Just kind of like jamming here and there. We're trying to make it a little more consistent, but it's kind of more, it's definitely like different from this, the music that I play in this band, which I don't know. I like playing different genres.
For Tovidence, we're finishing up an EP that we recorded last year. It was recorded during the same session as our single Lying To. We just took a minute to start working on it again. But so that's gonna come hopefully within the next few months, and Releasing the EP is going to be kind of strange because the 3 songs we're dropping are the band's like earliest songs. Like it's not what we sound like now. So people are going to listen and be like, "What the hell is this?" And then after that, we're doing a split EP with a couple of our friends in a band called Meds, and it's going to be like maybe a 5-song split,
Yeah.
and those also include 2 of our older songs. So once we drop those 2 projects, it's just like the new music forward on. It's just going to be nice to get the old stuff out, like for both archival purposes and just for. I know a lot of people, like early listeners of the band, would love to hear those songs. So it'd be nice to have some stuff out
Mhm.
from the early days.
Yeah, and also to kind of show and document our progress in our sound as a band, you know? They
Mhm.
kind of have that evolution out there to see like, oh, they sounded like this. Oh, now they sound like this. This is cool. Or they might think it's not cool, but hopefully they think it's cool.
They better.
They better. But yeah, just kind of like an evolution of how much we've grown throughout our music and writing process and us as friends and bands.
I think that's a great idea, and that was actually gonna be one of my questions was how do you guys feel that you've aged, musicality-wise compared to where you guys first started?
I'd say greatly. Um, Before Tovidence, I was playing in a hardcore band, and then I was playing in a pop punk band. And looking at this band now, not only is it like the longest band I've been in, but I'd say I definitely feel happy and at home with what we have, and I wouldn't want to trade it for anything in the world because this has been like one of my favorite things to be a part of. And I've definitely like grown better at my playing and just being able to stand behind a microphone and be less like anxious when playing on a stage because I don't know, just being in this atmosphere is very comforting, especially with like people you've been associated with for a minute. But yeah, but how have you aged musically, sir?
Um, well, I started playing guitar and I picked up bass a few years after. And when at the time of when I joined the band, I had only been playing bass for about a year and a half, 2 years maybe, just as like a side hobby. And definitely since joining, I've learned a lot more about bass and how to play it, especially playing the sound we have and playing with these guys, you know. They also have definitely influenced how I play as well because all of our little styles in one definitely create something that's like unique to play along to. But definitely have progressed a lot within the last 2 years of us playing.
I feel like in with playing like all together, we've definitely come like to know each other better as musicians as well. Like I notice when we play, our anticipation of, when to come in and just how the song is going to sound, we all have a similar idea of what we would like it to sound like. And that's one thing that we really like have come and grown as like a group together.
Well, it's awesome when it all works out and you guys have a similar goal when it comes to the sound.
I think the most important thing is that we're happy when we're playing together, and it's more about just having fun rather than getting together and performing for people like a job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We have fun on stage. People can clearly see we'll laugh our asses off sometimes, but yeah, it's definitely a super fun thing to be a part of and fun times.
Listeners of our previous 2 episodes, if they went to Tommy Fest, may have already met or even just heard you guys already. But do you guys have any plans for the nearish future or any dream spots that you'd like to try to hit up this or next year?
Well, once we get the 2 projects we have on the way out of the way, we're looking to hopefully do some sort of small tour, definitely like down in the Bay Area and even like down the way, like LA.
SoCal.
Yeah, SoCal. That might be on the radar. Definitely like later down the road. Um, and yeah, just getting to meet new people and make new connections because having connections is the most important thing in like today's age when it comes to music and especially the DIY scene in general. But after that, just recording, doing more shows, making our sound even more soundier and just continuing to love what we do, I guess.
And then I can take a guess, but what is a split release, and how did you guys decide that this was something that you guys were going to end up doing?
A split release is a collaborative effort between either two or more bands. So in this case, it's Tovidence and a band called Meds. And each band is providing an amount of songs into one release. So when you go to the release page, it's going to have several songs by this band, several songs by that band, and both bands just get equal amount of views when it comes to like listening and statistics. And it could be with like two or more bands, like I said. Like that's how most compilation records are made. Like it's just that's what most people in like the DIY scene refer to it as a split. And I can't count how many times we've had to explain what a split is to people. But yeah, it's pretty yeah. Huh?
To be fair, I've never heard of a split until like now. I didn't know bands did that.
Yeah. But that's what a split is. How to tell what a split is 101.
Hopefully, you won't have to explain it so much now that it's been recorded. What is it that you guys do with your time outside of the band, whether it's work or just hobbies?
I like to cook. I like to do graphic design on my own time. I make a lot of flyers for specifically DNL and other shows. And honestly, I just like art in general. I like doodling. I like researching art, reading poetry. Not going to school yet, but I might go to school for something like visual arts in the future, I think. That's all I really do outside of music. What do you do?
I work at Del Taco, and that's about it.
You?
Um, I'd say I spend a lot of time like practicing like drums. Like it's I work as an EMT, so my schedule during like most of the week is pretty busy. But I'll usually have like a couple hours before each shift. I'll just come in here, just practice some exercises or just some of the songs that we're working on. Um,
How do you like the EMT stuff? Do you feel I know it's kind of a I don't wanna say dramatic because that sounds negative and kind of belittling, but it is a dramatic job. Do you feel that that kind of, uh, inspires you to have some sort of release with the drumming?
Um, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the job that I work as an EMT is pretty straightforward. Like, I do a lot of what's called IFTs, so I'm just like transporting patients. I'm not like necessarily responding to a 911 call.
Okay.
Um, that's my goal. I would like to be an EMT that can, is on 911. But I would feel honestly a lot of like inspiration that comes from drumming is just the like constant need to like move and just like like get something out. I don't know. It's just relaxing. It kind of more stimulating, you could say, but I've always kind of been that way. I always like to be doing something, and having drumming is like one of those things that's like, you're progressively getting better at something over time, as well as it helps with, other things like mental health and um, kind of, just keeping your mind sharp.
And this one's a little bit of a goofy one. If you guys had a spirit animal for the band itself, what do you guys think that it would be? I'll give you guys a little bit of time to think about it because I want to see if you guys would think of all the same one, considering you guys are kind of mind melded.
3, 2, 1.
Pearl.
It's a
Yeah, yeah.
it's a dog. It's one of my dogs.
Oh my
Pearl.
gosh. What kind is
Um,
she?
like a Westie Terrier. For the longest time, the icon of the band, especially like during our first year, was like a doodle of my dog that my brother made on a whiteboard. And I digitized it and like pasted it everywhere on our page for like flyers and shit. Like our first show was a Halloween fest and they used our icon as that fucking doodle. So like so that was it for like the longest time. And a lot of people associate us with that kind of dog, like a small, like white crusty dog. But
White
the
Christy
second
dog.
thing I was gonna say was maybe like just some sort of bird,
I was gonna say an owl,
like an owl or like
like a white
like a
owl.
magpie or something.
Yeah, yeah, like a tiny bird or a really big owl. You know. one of those.
Yeah, for context, Pearl is my dog, so I guess that would be that could count as a spirit animal or a bird. Did you have any in mind?
Nah, mine was just Pearl.
Yeah.
Yep. I said you both said Pearl. I just said dog.
I said by name.
Oh,
too.
oh, I didn't know what you meant. Fuck.
It sounded like you all said the same thing, so at least on my end.
Me and Nate. Me and Nate.
Him and
said
Nate
it.
did.
Because we're the rhythm section. We're like
Yeah.
extra.
We're the rhythm section. We're the most important. Damn near. But yeah.
Pearl.
Pearl.
What is the further goal? Is the playing of the music simply an outlet? This is a question that I asked on the previous episode. Is it an outlet? Is it something just for fun? Or is there like a further goal to, get bigger and bigger and meet a larger audience?
I want to say all of the above. Like, it definitely is an outlet when it comes to like expressing emotion through the music and bringing a lot of personal, intense feeling and just injecting it into what we play and like our
Yeah.
respective parts. And further goals are just to, tour, release more music, sort of tighten up a little bit more, explore more of an atmosphere in terms of like different inspiration and ideas. And I wouldn't say we have much of an expanded audience now. I mean, we have listeners all over the world. I mean, one of our like second most listened countries was like Ukraine, which is crazy. But I think I think at some point the audience will expand greatly, and whenever it does, we'll just be grateful for it. We're just grateful we even have like some sort of an audience. Like we're just making emo music and people happen to like it. And yeah, no, it's something we're very grateful for. We never thought we'd come this far from having like 200 followers to like over 1200, It's a huge accomplishment, especially like in my book. Like I've never really had a project I've been in blow up that crazy. And it may not seem like much, but to us it's a pretty huge deal, you know. Pretty huge deal if I do say so myself.
I think 1,200 in the span of 2 years, and, probably for the first couple of months, you guys hadn't had anything released. That's honestly a huge accomplishment, so I
Yeah. And
definitely
that's just from knowing people, like making connections and just like playing everywhere. Like I don't know, like it's just crazy to think about. I still can't even like process it.
I definitely applaud where you guys have gotten, in such a short period of time. And with the, at least sort of goal of expanding the audience, how do you guys balance the creative expression with possibility of commercial viability?
That's a tough question. You have anything to say?
Personally, I don't know if I've ever really thought of that. I would really, um, like I've always really liked music that is very, like, not necessarily raw, but just its own thing. Like
Out of the
it's
ordinary.
yeah, out of the ordinary, and just you can tell it was put together by musicians who played instruments. I hear a lot of music that's come out recently, and like a lot of what they're doing is like kind of, I don't know, like it feels very commercialized. Like you can tell when music is commercial. Um, and I just don't. I never end up liking those songs quite as much. Like they're kind of cool in the moment, but they never stick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I definitely would not want this band to become one of the sellout bands, just because like I don't see that like as us. But it's definitely cool to have something that's very much out of the ordinary compared to like other like punk bands in the area, and I feel like it should just stay that way for a while unless something else comes along the way. But as for like commercial reasons, not too sure. Just doesn't really seem like us, I don't think. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah.
But
I'd much rather.
I mean,
prefer-
if someone came along and offered us like $50 million, hypothetically, I'm not. I would. I feel like we'd all be pretty stupid to turn that down. But
Yeah.
like, if it's just like, here's a kind of a like, way to produce your music for like, I don't know, like
yeah.
again. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I definitely want to keep this a little more DIY, just us doing it, not kind of selling our work to someone and having someone else write it, using us as the outlet for whatever they want.
Didn't we
Like,
get offered a label like after
Yeah,
our first
a
show?
sketchy show
yeah,
in
like
Lodi.
after our first show, we played Lodi Halloween Fest, and after our set, some guy came up to us talking about, yeah, we want to get you on a record label, and we were like,
With like all these like old punk bands like Rancid and shit.
yeah, like claiming that it's a label that's worked with all these other now
My
popular,
wife's brother's on the label.
yeah, like all these other now popular punk bands, and like just trying to get these young kids who just played their first show, like, yeah, here's your money, this is real. But I don't want that. I want it to be what we want to do, how we want to do it, and it's all about having fun. So stuff that we have fun making, not
Yeah.
just making something that is good in someone else's eyes. We want to make
Yeah.
what we think is good.
DNL Records for life.
How do you guys stay connected with your fans as well as other local musicians?
Uh, really just through posting things on social media and like interactive posts. Like, do you want to hear this? Do you want this? Do you want us to make these shirts? And we're always promoting the fuck out of our shows and like whatever we have on the way. And we send it to people. Like we're huge on using hashtags because really they help. A lot of people don't think they help, but they do. They get you a long way. And yeah, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about just like knowing people. Like with the connections we know, like they also spread the word of what we're doing and what we're up to, especially if we have like a show coming up like Tommy Fest. Like I'd say out of like most of our recent shows, that's been like the most interactive one that we've had. Just because like with the other bands on the bill, like Aether and Critical, like they also have their own following to where they can put in the effort, and it just helps, and it takes you a long way.
Another thing is like just kind of networking through going to other local shows and supporting other bands, meeting people, meeting the bands, and just
Making fun of the bassist rig, throwing stuff at the drummer.
yeah, you just throw stuff at them. But no,
Heckle the band.
but just meeting people, just going to shows, even if we're not playing, just kind of meeting other bands, get connections, or sometimes we'll run into people who recognize us, and we'll talk to them, and just make it feel like obviously we're people too. Like that's what we just want to be, is we're just some chill dudes playing music. Like that's all, man.
That's all it is.
We just kind of meet people by just going out, just going to the scenes, putting ourselves out there. Not like being like, oh, I'm in this band, like check us out, like super upfront, just pushing it on them, but just casual connections and meeting people, a lot of that.
And another kind of goofy one, if you guys could write an intro to any show, what show or what type of show would you guys be making one for?
A show,
King of the Hill.
King of the Hill,
Oh,
like that. Oh yeah.
yeah. What would you say?
Well, if it could be like anything, like even out of the genre we play and the style we play, I think, I don't know, probably some like random like comedy show or something like that, like South Park, American Dad,
Yeah.
Family Guy, or like King of the Hill or something like that. But if it were kind of in the more tone that we make, then definitely a little more something serious, a little
Yeah.
more dark,
Mm-hmm.
without sounding too corny or cheesy, but something a little darker tone.
Yeah. I disregard my King of the Hill comment, but I have a huge passion for like just learning about old MTV shows from like the mid 2000s, like MTV Downtown, shit like that. I feel like if that was still something that was up in the air, that could totally be something we would make like a song for.
Yeah, I could see
And like it just fit the vibe of the time, and like especially the style of the show. Like it would really be a dream. come true. But unfortunately, that's not the deal anymore. So, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of our older stuff. I feel like there was one riff in there that think
Oh fuck,
that
dude! I
like
forgot to play that shit.
I feel like there's a few of our older stuff that was not necessarily goofy, just kind of more lighthearted, kind of vibe, a more upbeat. I feel like that could be used for like he was saying, kind of like an MTV style
Yeah,
cartoon,
yeah.
like
Like Adult Swim or some
yeah,
shit. That's
yeah,
what I was thinking too.
like '90s Adult Swim cartoons.
Do you guys have a favorite memory or a very striking memory from any of your guys' previous performances other than the creepy label guy?
I mean,
Boardwalk.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
That drunk heckler, dude.
yeah, we've dealt with some drunk people during some shows.
There was
Just the venues they are, they sell alcohol.
Yeah, there was we played in the Boardwalk last year in February, and um I think for almost all of our set there was this guy that had come in already wasted, came there to get more wasted, and he was being a dick to everyone, but during our set he completely like lost all thought of being a dick and just was being so like funnily annoying during our set and just like shouting stupid shit, and like at the very end he walks up to us and like, dude, you and your bassist are all right, but that drummer, you guys would be nothing without the drummer. Like, I would pay to see just the drummer. Like, you guys, man, the drummer, yeah. He just looks so like,
And
I don't know.
every time I had to tune my bass, he was like, "Tune that bass!" Just like yelling at me to tune it, just like at all times saying something.
Was there any other funny things that happened at shows? I can't think of anything.
Funny or crazy. I think let's see. I don't know if there's anything else too crazy or funny. I mean, if you can count how much we made from our first show, that's kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like we made 300 off our first show from pre-sales, which for our first show as a band together, we were like, wow, this is crazy. And like
Yeah.
it was a big Halloween fest, so there was a whole bunch of bands and we all had promo codes that like people can use to get a discount, and those funds go towards us. And we got like, what was it, second place in most earnings.
Yeah.
So kind of that was something a little crazy, and also something that did inspire us because it kind of showed that even having not played or having music out whatsoever, people were looking forward to seeing us and showed support, which kind of definitely helped.
Yeah. I want to say that first show we played was super memorable too.
Yeah, that was so fun. Yeah, definitely that one.
So, DNL Studios, aside from being a recording studio and rehearsal studio, they also throw shows here. And the year of 2023 is when they started throwing shows. And the first show we played at DNL, it was like, I think our fourth show total. It was in the winter. And I just remember it being the most fun and just December 16th. I just remember it being the most like memorable in terms of like the crowd and the energy, and like everyone was having fun. We were goofing off a whole lot. We had like an intermission song. It was like that like tequila song that do 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 do. We did that. We had a lot of just a lot of. It was just a fun show, and like seeing that compared to now just shows so much of how we evolved, but like sort of kept the same silliness aspect of us. But that's definitely like one of my most memorable shows. Do you have one in specific?
Yeah, I was also gonna say that one. That was one that a lot of our friends also came out to support us at, and it was like, just like the whole like playing a show, being at the show, and having like a bunch of friends around us was super cool. Also got into a car accident that day. Like,
Oh, I
like,
remember I posted
like,
a picture. I remember posting a picture on the band page of your fucking like.
yeah, it wasn't anything crazy. I just like rear-ended a guy, and I mean, I barely damaged his car, but my car kind of got fucked up.
I remember that. That was funny.
But yeah, no, just like the fact that everyone was there made it like super cool. Like, I don't know, it was a fun show.
It was like I guess you can compare it to being like super comfy.
Yeah.
It was all our friends, you know.
Yeah.
It was less of a playing a show, more of like we're having fun doing what we like to do for our friends, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and others alike, you know, just having fun. And it was just overall definitely one of the most fun shows we had.
Yeah. I'm sure there's more to come in
Yeah.
terms of fun times.
Oh yeah, and crazy times.
What is the best advice, professional or not, or the best feedback that you guys have gotten regarding your music?
We've gotten the same, "You guys have improved so much," comment, like, so much. Um, we we've gotten praise for having similarities to our inspirations, which always means a lot. Um, we get praise for our rigs because they're, like, super rare and old, and to some people, having older stuff is ideal to that tone, I guess. And, I think just, like, our overall, like, vibe and just setup is what people like the most and how much we can do as a three-piece, I'd say. Anything that anyone says is always means so much because we take the little things for granted.
I've personally gotten like quite a few like comments from other drummers, like, kind of like hyping me up on my drumming, and I don't love to like brag about it, but hearing those like words of encouragement and like just like kind of assurance, like it's like, oh, okay, what I'm doing is working, like, and so it kind of gives me direction to kind of continue to do what I'm doing, because it's like, okay, I'm getting positive feedback here, like it's not just like, oh yeah, like you're good, like, but it's like kind of like, oh, I really liked the way you play this fiddle or something like that, and that's kind of more like, oh, I enjoy that, because in playing music, like you do play, like I feel like you do want to play for the listener, like, but you're the first listener, so you want to make sure, like, it's affirming to hear from other people that what you're making and what you think sounds good, other people also.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking through my list.
No, it's okay.
Um, so my last one specifically from what you guys provided me. You guys mentioned Mexican food in the introductory form. Is this a staple for the band, or is it just because there's one nearby? I know there's that Express hummus place right behind, but I don't think I recall the Mexican place nearby.
No, we, California burrito is where it's at. Each member of Tovidence has a strong love for Mexican food,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
it's usually like just something we get to pass time. And like before shows, after shows, like it always hits. And
It's either that or feel our feelings. So.
Yeah.
yeah, any specific like favorite when it comes to Mexican food?
Oh, asada tacos, definitely.
Yeah.
And from California burrito, I like the California burrito, of course. It's
Hmm.
pretty good. Um, I'll kind of eat anything, but my favorites are asada tacos and the California burrito.
I'm also one for asada tacos, and I kind of like. I'm a little bit a fan of ceviche tacos, but not too much compared to
Ooh.
like carne asada. And I don't know, just more of an asada person at heart, I guess. When God made me, He was like, He will like asada. What about you?
Um, I think as far as Mexican food goes, probably one of my favorite like meals is like enfrijoladas. They're like
Ooh.
they're like tortillas dipped in bean sauce and then kind of folded over each other, and then you have like this like cheese, like usually shredded chicken and like sour cream and romaine lettuce. It's really simple, but it's like a in my dad's house, he's Mexican, and that was like kind of like when someone was making that, it was like, oh yes, we're having enfrijoladas. But as far as like just California burrito goes, I really rock with the just the carne asada burrito.
You can't forget the horchata.
Low horchata.
Yeah.
If there was a food other than Mexican to be binged, what would it be for you guys?
Wendy's.
Wendy's. I
Wendy.
think
Yeah.
compared to California Burrito, Wendy's is the second spot we've gone to the most. Like
Yeah.
before practices, after practices, during shows. It always just seems to be the most filling option,
Yeah.
and so it's either that. I'd say Popeyes too.
Oh yeah,
I think
Popeyes
I think
for sure.
after like I think the first month of Nate being in the band, I introduced him to Popeyes because he had never had it like ever,
yeah.
and I think it just rocked his world completely.
Dude, it was. I really liked how the sandwiches were like still only like less than $6.
Yeah.
I feel like anywhere you go now, like if you want a meal, you're forking out at least a 20. Like it's just, but like for like the chicken sandwiches, it's like $6. They're great.
Mm-hmm. And their fries are always the best.
That's very surprising about the Wendy's. I usually don't really hear people talk about Wendy's.
It's always off and on rumbling, but their biggie bag deals, they're kind of the bomb, if I say
Yeah.
so myself.
Yeah, or their 50-piece nuggets. You can get a party pack at Wendy's for like $13, like 50 nuggets. Uh, it's a pretty good deal, 15 like I think
Yeah.
it's probably like $14 now, but for 50 nuggets. I mean a 10 piece is $11, so
I might be having to go to Wendy's now soon.
You should tell every band that comes on the show, go to Wendy's. Tovidence said so.
I'll get a sponsorship for Wendy's at some point.
Yeah.
If you guys could have any talent or skills beyond what you already have, what's something that you've been wanting to do?
I had to think about it.
For me personally, it would definitely be either picking up drums eventually or art. I've always liked art. I used to draw a lot, but I stopped when I was younger. And I still love art, but I wish like I want to get better at it and do my own stuff. And I also really enjoy tattoos, so with doing art, being a tattoo artist would be really cool as well to pick up as a hobby.
Mhm. So I've had a recent aspiration for learning the cello. It just seems like more of a comforting musical instrument to play, and just I feel like with our music, you could put it in several different spots. But aside from like music, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Visual arts is something I'd like to pursue at some point, and just go to like different places and be there to like display my stuff, or even just like go to appreciate other art. And sometimes I think about going snowboarding more often. I need him to teach me a little bit about it because I have no fucking knowledge about it.
I would like to snowboard as well, so
Yeah.
maybe a snowboarding trip sometime.
Maybe someday, go to school, learn a little bit about psychology. Something I feel like will come in handy. And yeah.
probably for me, I honestly really enjoy snowboarding. It's a really fun hobby. I like to get better at that. I would also, I don't know, I find like singing and doing vocals like pretty interesting too. I would in the future like definitely have considered like taking vocal lessons from like a professional
Me too.
because I feel like there's a lot of like power, especially in music, that's pulled from the vocals that when I'm playing drums that like I really recognize, and that's something I choose to follow in music. So like having a strong vocal lead is like it's a cool thing.
Yeah. And just to clarify, Tovidence is not a vocal band. Like we all do vocals, but it's more about the instrumentation, I'd say. We just happen to have a microphone and say this and that here and there just to fill the space. But definitely going off what Nate said, learning more about just training my voice would be a little bit helpful. You never know when you want to switch up from the screamo shit and go like full gospel or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a possibility.
Yeah, you'll never know when you have to sing for a church.
Right.
On a whim.
Is there anything that you guys wanna go back on or bring up that might not have been brought up?
Um,
No,
no, not really.
that's pretty much all that we know how to say. So yeah,
That's all we know.
we're running out of our word count right now, and then after that, just gibberish.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Tovidence, for coming onto the show. I really appreciate your guys' appearance.
Thank you for having me.
Uh,
I
if
appreciate it.
you if you or somebody that you know would like to be on the show, just send us a DM on nowplaying_the916 at Instagram, or send us an email at nowplayingthe916@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time.